Hello, Attorney Masa Sam Foray, and I am owner of the Foray firm with offices in Chicago and in Houston, and I am back again today to talk to you about all things related to immigration. Okay, so today's video is for the lovers. Today's video is for those individuals who are applying to come here as a spouse of a U.S. green card holder or a U.S. citizen, or they are the U.S. citizen sponsor, the U.S. green card holder sponsor who is seeking to, to bring their spouse here. So I go into detail about different aspects of this, and the reason why I've done multiple videos about marriage-based spouses is because, again, they have a higher rate of fraud than any other type of visa application. USCIS is particularly sensitive to marriage-based fraud, and so in this video, the issue that I'm going to be talking about is a change in the immigration policy under this current administration, and one that took place in November of 2019 that actually is pretty favorable. It fixed an issue for individuals who fell into this particular category. So you'll recall, if you listen to any of my other videos about marriage-based visas, that the first 2 years after you receive your green card, it is conditional. It is a 2-year conditional green card. It is not your permanent green card. And so therefore, presumptively, at the end of the 2 years, best case scenario is that both spouses will jointly file to lift, or what we call remove, the conditions on the green card. If you fail to remove the conditions on the green card after you, prior to the end of your 2 years, then prior to November of 2019, meaning prior to this change that I'm going to talk to you about, you found yourself in a particularly sticky situation where you were caught between two different agencies. So if you failed to apply to lift your conditions prior to the expiration of your 2-year conditional green card, and this is prior to November of 2019, what used to have to happen is that an immigration judge had to affirm, and they had to reaffirm the conditions of your permanent residency. So in order for an immigration judge to reaffirm the conditions of your permanent residency, USCIS used to have to send paperwork over to the courts. Imagine the difficulties and the delays that were incurred by individuals who had to wait for USCIS to do anything, let alone send documentation to an immigration court, who themselves are backed up, who themselves have to schedule individuals for hearing, who themselves, in the best of circumstances in the last several years, have had hearings that are 12 months out and 18 months out. So a lot of immigrants who, again, they were here lawfully, they were here on spousal-based visas. For whatever reason, they failed to, file to lift the conditions on their spousal-based visas, and they found themselves in this situation. They would literally be caught in limbo between immigration courts and USCIS. So President Trump, for many reasons, and rightfully so, he doesn't get a lot of credit for his immigration changes, but this actually is one that has actually benefited immigrants, because you no longer have to go to the immigration court. You can simply just apply to USCIS. So thank you to President Trump for this change that you have made that has improved this particular conundrum for individuals in this particular situation where they had a conditional green card that they failed to renew. But let's talk about what you need to do to make sure you don't fall into that category. So what you need to do to make sure that you don't fall into this category is, number one, make sure you know your immigration deadlines. And those sometimes are the deadlines that are listed right on your I-94. They're listed right, on your green card. They are certainly listed in your paperwork. Make sure you know your deadlines and you know your obligations. If you have a 2-year conditional green card because of a marriage-based green card, then what you have to do is you have to submit what we call a Form I-751. And you have to file that Form I-751, which is a petition to remove conditions, at least 90 days before the expiration of your 2-year conditional green card. In order to make sure that you do not allow your conditional green card to expire, you must pay attention to the calendar. You cannot wait until your 2 years has expired and then on, day 2 years and 1 day, that is when you decide to submit your application, because certainly due to processing times and wait times, you are absolutely going to find yourself in a situation where your conditional green card has expired. You don't want those problems. You don't want the extra cost. You don't want the extra headache. You don't want to have to go through the extra step of, trying to explain yourself and falling into a category of unnecessary headache. Because if you've gotten a conditional green card, whether you are still married or not, whether therefore you meet the initial conditions of the green card or not, there is a pathway to you, and a relatively straightforward pathway to you for lifting those conditions and moving on to the next stage in the process, which would be your permanent green card or your 10-year green card. So if you have any questions about this, if you have a 2-year, if you have 2-year conditional residency and you have questions about how to move on to the next stage in the process and how to successfully submit your I-751, please reach out to a trusted immigration attorney. And I hope that this video has been helpful for you.